Jay Massey is a full-time real estate investor. He's an entrepreneur.
He also teaches people how to find deals, raise capital for real estate investments.
Meeting Jay Massey in person, you'd think he's just a regular guy. He's got jeans and a t-shirt on and a pair of sneakers. But he's built up a multi-million-dollar empire.
I hope you do have an empty notebook because it's going home filled.
Jay gives back so much value that I've never seen.
Now, at this moment, when I'm looking at the kitchen, things are going through my head.
You want to be friends with him, and he treats you like you're the only person in the room, even though it's for the benefit of everybody.
This is how, when you ask yourself, how does Jay do it? This is how.
He tells people that they have to take action, and they have to take action now. I took the action, and the results have paid off.
What happens when the marketplace understands who we are and how we go out there?
All right, guys, how are you doing? Hopefully things are going well for you. And on this fine Tuesday, we are going to go through another quick tour through some information in the news. We'll answer that question that's in the title, and we will definitely talk about our upcoming event that is beginning next week. So I know that many of you already know about it, and that's great. And I look forward to seeing you there. But for those of you that don't, we are beginning a series where a masterclass, if you will, for those of you who have been wanting to get started, thought about getting started, like, man, one day I hope I could. This would be your opportunity to go out there and become a bigger, better, badder entrepreneur via the short-term rental world, helping you build your cash flow. Now, many might say that, hey, this is the wrong time to do such a thing. I would strongly disagree. But if you've got some questions, a couple of things that to let you know, for those of you joining for the first time, go ahead. Just below, you should see a link, cashflowdiary.com/ask. Feel free to submit a question there, or you can go ahead and type in the chat. And for those of you who are here for the first time, go ahead and do us a favor. Just go ahead and type new, because I would love to say hello to you for those of you who are joining us, like Robert. Hey, Robert, how are you? What is good? There are a lot of things that's good. As I have said before, and I say again, where there is chaos, there is cash flow. As many of us have no doubt understood, the economy has been in chaos and may still be for quite some time, which just means that there's an opportunity for you and I to go out there, find a problem to solve that problem, and then continue to move forward. So at the end of the day, our goal as entrepreneurs is to give you the tools, the thought processes, the systems, the research, the things that you need to go out there and make and build cash flow, starting from scratch or not. Doesn't really matter to us. So with that, anyway, Robert, hello, how are you? Glad that you were here. So again, for those of you that are new, just go ahead and type the word type the word new in the chat. There we go. And we will definitely do our best to welcome you. But let's go ahead and jump right on in. So let's take a quick gander, if we will, over at the recovery index, as we always do. So this week, look, everybody, no change. That's basically what it's been like for the last, I don't even know how many times. So as always, we can then filter by, say, we'll just filter by the US, and you'll see a little bit differently so that the numbers are easier to see. But yes, we are still at a wonderful 44. We haven't really done pretty much of anything, and we likely won't be doing much of anything for quite some time. I expect to bounce here, maybe bounce and go down, maybe bounce and go up a little bit for a while. Now, with that being said, it's still a great time because as those of you who have followed and have seen on some of our prior reports and videos, we showed you very clearly how demand for what we do has increased 300%. And supply has gone down. So therefore, there's still a need that doesn't necessarily correlate to price, however, but it's better than what it was. So what I mean by that is simply when we were looking at the end of February, March, June, and April was really, not good. And while it's improved, it's nowhere near where it would normally be, right? But it's still something to begin to build. It's still a way that you can make cash flow happen. It's just not as good, which means you have to work 4 times as hard to make half as much for the time being. But what you gain is market share, right? And ultimately, if those words mean nothing to you or very little to you, the only thing that you need to bring to the table when you're working with us here at CashFlow Diary is you need to bring 2 things. We need you to believe and to build. Someone type that in the chat for me, please, because that's the ingredients that you bring to the table. You bring your belief and your willingness to build. We will fill in the blanks and give you what you need to do, the order you need to do it in, and then it's up to you to make it happen. Okay. So we're still at a 44. That probably surprises nobody. But what may surprise some of you is that Skift also has a health score. And occasionally from time to time, I like to check in on names that we would all recognize, AKA Marriott in this particular case. I do find it interesting. I think we should pay attention to this. In terms of their industry and or regional percentile, they are really, really highly rated. And even a company that strong, that public, that everything is still, according to Skip, doesn't have 100% survivability scores. Just think about that. It's another way of saying there's still a 14% chance that they might not be here, which should be some sort of indication of how challenging things can be and are for those in the hospitality industry. So that's your hotel, that's your restaurant, that's your airlines, that's all of these things. There's challenges. Now, it doesn't mean that the services aren't needed and won't be here, but it only means the most efficient ones will. And the entrepreneurs that you have seen, either on the news or whatnot, that are beginning to figure things out, notice how they've had to innovate. And innovation, again, that's not free. Or they've had to, maybe they fired some people and hired new people. Well, that too wasn't free. Training isn't free. And yeah, they don't hire as many people or rehire as many people as needed, but they're innovating. They're taking the ingredients the marketplace is given, and we're putting them back out there in a new form to be able to still deliver some service as opposed to no service. And that's pretty much where it is. It's probably going to be there for a little bit longer, a lot of bit longer, and that's okay. Okay, this is where you find out how much of an entrepreneur you really are. Are you willing to take and make all of the turns necessary to make it happen? It's kind of what we do. So, as they say, come on in, the water's fine. Now, what I like to do occasionally on Tuesdays is to go through a number of articles and just, for lack of a better way of putting it, in some cases, just give you my overarching thoughts on how to receive a lot of the information that you are hearing and being pummeled with, especially for those of you who are looking at the hospitality industry as the way that you're going to make it. Maybe you want to do what we do, which is simply provide short-term housing to individuals via marketing sites like Airbnb, TripAdvisor, Expedia, HomeAway, and just too many. Maybe that's your thing. And you're hoping that this can be your entry point into the marketplace, which is one of those basic lessons. Understand this, please. Someone write this in the chat. The marketplace must break in order for you and I to find our way in. If the marketplace never breaks, new entry points aren't created. So it's okay, right? I understand, and it's still okay. All right. With that being said, let's look at a couple of these articles. And if you have questions as we go, just put them in the chat. We will pick those up here shortly. All right. So let's just look at this particular headline right here. We've got Expedia Group. Expedia Group is huge. So think, well, Expedia, obviously. But anyway, Expedia Group goes deeper on job cuts. In and of itself, a lot of this is, we're probably going to see a lot more of this as things continue, because one of the things that must happen is, in order for the economy to right itself, is that the entrepreneurs, the CEOs, the leaders of the organizations, they have to make changes. And these changes sometimes, often mean cutting departments, cutting jobs, cutting expansion plans, cutting all kinds of things to make sure that the core business, whatever that might be, the core service, the core product, still survives. Now, it's not a permanent cut, but it is like one of the decisions is often, how can we cut and still reevaluate our ability to grow? That's really what it comes down to. So being able to, or having to lay off 12%. Yes. Is that right? Okay. Got it. So yes, 12% of their workforce is a significant number of individuals. It's a significant number of families. And yeah. So when we find redundancies, when we find duplicated or overlapping skills, all these types of things, these things are the things that that's how cuts are decided to be made. Now, that can sound harsh, that can sound various different things, but I promise you the CEO in most cases is thinking, how can I protect the jobs that are here? And sometimes that's part of what's necessary. Now, here's the good news. The good news is two things also continue. Is all of the profitable lines of business continue, and are typically made more efficient. In the process of making them more efficient, you usually move more product or more service, and then you need more people. It's just a process that takes time to occur. Typically, this occurs over years, right? And it's rare that we've had the need for such innovation all at once, simultaneously, all right now. And that is the thing. It's going to take time for the entrepreneurs to create the jobs that are necessary in order to bring the economy back, which is one of the reasons why we here at CashFlow Diary continue to do what we do. Because what we want to do is we want to help you become, well, one of those entrepreneurs who is creating, is creating. I don't know. One of you grammar Nazis will correct it. Who is creating the jobs that others are looking to take so that they can go out there and continue to build or rebuild their life in some way, shape, or form. So if you are looking to become a job maker instead of a job taker, that's kind of what we do. So hopefully that helps in terms of a thought as you continue to see, because like I said, we're going to keep seeing headlines like that. That's not going to be the last one. It's not even going to be the last one today, or even the last one that you see for a while. You're going to continue to see them. Now, another thing that I want to address is that oftentimes you can hear things like, oh, the unemployment rate this and the unemployment rate that. Wonderful. That's a general aggregated number. And we all remember what happens with averages. If you have two numbers, one being 2, the other being 10, you add them together, 2 plus 10, that's 12, but you take the average, it's 6. So that can give a false impression about how things are doing. Very specifically, we're finally at the point to where the unemployment finally, like now, like we've improved to the point to where unemployment in the hotel and hospitality industry is under 30%. So yay, kind of. I mean, that's kind of what we want to do. We want to cheer and be excited, but at the same time, I want to take that same thing, okay, and tell you why and how you as the entrepreneur can look at that and find an opportunity. What's inside there is to say that there are a significant number of well-trained individuals who are looking for a way to use their experience. Again, maybe you are one of them, right? And what happens then on the other side is that now your entity, your short-term rental business has the ability to benefit from individuals who, in some cases, already kind of know a lot about how to service a customer, which will be helpful. They may not know a lot about the short-term rental world, but they know about the delivery of service. And that is key to understand. This has benefited us for sure, because we've been able to obtain some quality individuals, which is, I think, exciting to say the least, but most importantly, gives us an advantage as we continue to go out there to become more efficient. And this is a process that every business is undergoing right now. They've made lots of cuts, or making as many cuts as they feel they need to make, bringing on the resources they need to make what it is that they do more efficient, and then re-examining, and then probably growing if they can, or if that opportunity exists. So with that gets me to this particular article. Now, this one's an older article, but it's something that I do want to bring to your attention to think about, and again, multiple different ways. Very simply, 61% of restaurants that are closed due to the pandemic won't. That notice how it's not mincing any words, right? Won't open again. 61% of restaurants closed won't open again. I saw an article earlier this week, I think it was, maybe it was late last week, that basically said or mentioned that somewhere near 100,000 restaurants have closed. So let's take that 100,000. And now we've got 61% of those 100,000 not opening again. So that's 61,000, let's just businesses in and of itself, not opening again. That has a ripple effect is really where I'm going with this statement. Again, not to freak you out, not to panic you. That is not my goal, but to help you to see that there is an opportunity again, not only for you as the short-term rental provider, but for you, the entrepreneur, but also for the individuals who may be affected by this. Because this continues down the proverbial food chain, no pun necessarily intended, because I'm talking about restaurants. Here's my point. The restaurant industry, especially right now, there are lots of lessons to be learned from the entrepreneurs who are still making it happen. Chief among them is innovation, and most importantly, how they are innovating in order to still be able to deliver food and service. They are figuring it out. There are restaurants who pre-COVID were never even considering things like takeout or Uber Eats or DoorDash or any of the sharing economies pickup food services, if you understand what my meaning. There are lots of things that you, the short-term rental operator, can learn from watching what other entrepreneurs are doing, even though you may not necessarily be in that industry, but adjacent to it. For example, in the short-term rental world, there are opportunities, especially right now, for specialized food preparation, even, especially if you happen to be serving, like we figured out ways to serve a lot of nurses who are helping patients recover from COVID. Yay. And they have a lot of needs around just food delivery because they're spending so much time at the hospital. They don't necessarily have the energy, let alone the time, to prepare the quality of nutrients necessary to sustain the workload that they're currently under, if that makes sense. So one quote unquote shortcut, if you will, is to make that piece or that one more piece easier for them. Earlier this week, or maybe that was yesterday or the day before, I posted on my Facebook profile very clearly, solve every problem, right? Solve every problem. Someone write that in the chat because we want to remember this. When I say solve every problem, that is one of the answers to how your business grows in times of crisis and or distress. Meaning your customer comes to you for a certain something. If I was a hairdresser, anyway, if I was a hairdresser, they may come to me for the hair to be dressed a certain way, but do I also make it possible for them to purchase extra shampoo and or conditioner and or you get the meaning? Same is true for the short-term rental entrepreneur. The number one service, someone please write this down somewhere. The number one thing your customers are purchasing when they're staying with you is transportation. That is the number one thing that they are purchasing when they are staying with you is transportation. They're spending money outside of the room per se, and the number one thing is transportation. Okay. So find a way to solve every problem because they're going to spend the money anyway. And in this case, maybe providing them transportation is a way to make that happen. That is one of the new things we are bringing to the table to assist with recovering from the bottom lines, if you will. So we're saying that again so that you too can consider it. Now, what I want to do before I get to any questions that are in the chat, I want to talk about something that I think is interesting and most importantly, answer that question that's in the top. So I left a blank that's at the top. It basically says blank is first country in the world to see year-over-year hotel revenue growth during the pandemic. That sounds interesting, right? Like what? How is that possible? Given everything I just said, right? Planes aren't going anywhere. What is going on? Well, China is currently the first country in the world to see year-over-year hotel revenue growth during the pandemic. Now, depending on where you are, because I know there's a number of you out there in London and other parts of the UK, Australia, Africa, etc., that watch this. Thank you. And most importantly, depending on where you are, some of what I'm about to say, you're like, oh, yeah, everybody knows that. Well, no, everyone doesn't. One of the interesting industries to additionally pay attention to, especially right now, are the cruise lines, because they have worldwide exposure to a number of different markets. So whether that be Norwegian, whether that be Royal Caribbean, or the largest Carnival, they all have varying degrees of worldwide exposure. And you can see when you look at their financial reports that they are beginning, while they are not really sailing around anywhere in terms of the United States. Cruises in other locations across the globe are indeed actually happening. So it simply comes down to their respective health departments, or their respective processes have been allowed to flourish, to find a way to make it work. Said another way, that the CEOs, the entrepreneurs of those companies, have also found a way to, how can we still, they just asked a simple question: how can we still set sail without spreading COVID? Simple, right? What does that mean today? What does that look like? What safety procedures? How much more expensive is it? Do we need to reprice the tickets? All of these types of things are the very things that have been happening and are happening right now. And those things are beginning to come to market to bear. So why am I telling you? I'm telling you because no one knows for any sort of degree of certainty how long any particular country may need to know how to operate under their current conditions. So the challenge is to figure out, okay, if nothing changes, how can I, even if I was previously at 50% profit margin, how can I get to 1% profit margin? Because 1% is better than zero, right? So what could I do? What could we do? How can we come together to figure out a way to make this happen? Now, notice how it says year over year hotel revenue growth. It does not say year over year hotel profit growth, right? So because likely there will be an expenditure of money, cash, resources, or something in order to begin to affect the recovery. There's likely a rehiring cycle and training cycle, and the entrepreneur, the business, will likely lose money for a while until they get all the pieces together to push forward and to make it happen so that they can get to a profitable standpoint. This stands to reason one very, very basic question: why do it? Simply, yes, providing jobs, but also ask yourself the question, in a post-COVID environment, with a vaccine and other therapeutics and all the other things that are needed, that are on the way, with people properly socially distancing, wearing masks, or, okay, for those of you who are about to light up the chat, not wearing masks. Either way, you get my point. In a post-COVID environment where everybody's, actually exercising concern for each other and pushing things forward and making it work, do you think there will still be a need for cruises, airlines, hotels, or whatever product or service that you're thinking about? If the answer is yes, then market share is everything right now. That becomes the reason, because looking towards the future, there's a point at which, okay, if China's the first, there'll be a second, there'll be a third. I think there's like 189 countries in the world. So we've got 188 to go, right? And it'll eventually get there. But we don't know the time frame. We just know that it will happen over time. So figuring out how to get your operating revenues in the right shape, how to add those additional lines, how to expand appropriately and hire intelligently. So yeah, I know for me, one of the greatest things that I've had to learn is I had to remove myself from the hiring process, because I was doing the company a disservice by going at it too quickly. I was trying to hire too fast. And that meant it suffered in what the company actually needed, right? Having made that fundamental internal shift has created the ability for us to do more and more efficiently for that matter. And as we continue to do that, what it's allowing us to do is to find, again, the same thing, find ways to profitability and beyond, even though there's less. Does that make sense? How to do more with less is literally what is necessary for any and every business right now. Now, I said all this to say that the one thing that's still here is there's an endless amount of lessons that entrepreneurs are learning, especially those who are in the fight. And by in the fight, I mean you are dealing with it every day, right? You're still serving customers daily. You're providing, you're shipping, you're doing your thing. You know exactly what I'm talking about, and you know who you are in the chat. Whew. Let's do everyone a favor, right? We all know that the nurses and doctors and first responders have been absolute heroes and sheroes all the way through this, right? And that's not going to change. They're going to continue to be, even though they are absolutely dog tired. And anything that you and I can do to relieve their burden is something we should do. Also, I want to submit for your acceptance the other heroes and sheroes that are to be are those who are the job makers, because a vast amount in every country of individuals have been, will be furloughed, laid off, unemployed, looking for something new, retooling in some way, shape, or form. Even if your business is the business of educating others on their opportunity, or educating and training new people, or every business is needed. Every idea is needed. This is another way of me saying that you are needed now, because the economy is waiting for you to be brave enough to put your idea out there into service and make it happen, right? For those of you who have listened to this far, and more importantly, you think that, hey, you know what? I kind of like this whole real estate short-term rental thing. Feel free to go ahead and register because starting on Monday, yes, I had to think about that for a second. Starting on Monday, we will be doing another masterclass series, and we're going to teach you, show you. You will have exercises and workbooks. You will begin that business plan, if you will. Right? We're going to get you out there so that you can start, because the need is already here. The need actually never went anywhere. It did change, and there were many changes and many more changes to come. And the good news is you do have the physical ability to do it. That's the good news. The bad news is that it's easy to do, which also means it's easy not to do, right? So let's stop waiting for someone to make a job for us, and let's go make some jobs for some more people. That's what we're going to do together. Starts, go ahead, register at the link below, and let's get to some of the questions that you guys, or things that I think I saw some things in the chat, so I wanted to let's go ahead and address whatever these things might be, because I don't even know if you guys are like talking to me or talking to yourselves. And then we'll kind of go from there. Let's see. Robert says, at 60 properties and growing, enjoying this weather. Excellent. Keep doing that. And Dorcas, how are you doing? I love your name. And I don't know how many people know, but I find it even more interesting because it's a biblical name, and you just never know if someone is going to be brave enough to take some of the names of the Bible and actually name their children like that. But glad that you are definitely here. And yes, Lakeisha, believe and build. This is the fundamental piece to your success, and ultimately, yes, the economic recovery ahead is believing and building. And by that, I simply mean believing in your ability to deliver a service. You don't have to be the look. I'm not the genius that can invent stuff, right? But I can put two and two together. Hey, people need temporary places to stay. gee, I wonder what would happen if I provided them a temporary place to stay. I guess they'd pay me for it. You know what I'm saying? You don't need, that is not high level. Like, I'm not Elon inventing a whole new way of doing electricity and energy and yeah, because, you know, Tesla's not really a car company. That's all I'm going to say. That's not me. I just, simple concept. People like a roof over their head and you need one. I can help you with that. And so now you take that concept and double down in order to get to where you need to go. So I need you to believe and build. We document that process and share it with you. That's just how it works. Woo! And yes, the marketplace must break. Thank you, Lakeisha, for noting that, because it is that break that creates the opportunity, right? Your opportunity. Yes, in some cases, someone else is hurting in some way. You are solving a problem. By definition, when you are solving a problem, that means someone is experiencing something that they do not want, do not like, maybe even didn't intend. And in this case, definitely didn't cause it. So there's no reason to feel guilty. Solve their problem. Okay. Solve it. Solve it. I've never heard of Skift, but who are they? Robert, I'm just going to encourage you to come more Tuesdays because we mention them often, but Skift is one of the largest research firms available to the hospitality industry. So yeah, a lot of their information is available for free, and a lot of it is not, because that's how they make their money, is doing the research and then making the charts and documentation. So there you go. What's this? If the marketplace doesn't break, yes, many entry points are not created. Do you have a number we could call into and ask questions? I technically do. We have not used it in a while during the pandemic. Woo, but I would have to see a lot of people who would actually want to talk to me and have a question in that particular case. Here we go. Oh, Mr. Paper Towel is back. I have figured out who I want to serve. Yes, perfect. You have been trying to do that for a while, and I commend you on your perseverance. Tech-loving millennials. See, now we're getting specific. I want to create a high-tech Airbnb. Okay, see, we still got to go back to lesson number 1. You don't have an Airbnb business. You have a short-term rental business. Okay, so many of y'all knew that was coming. I am thinking 2 to 3 bedroom is best, but I am conflicted inside a city center or the outskirts. Got it. Yeah, and if you're thinking tech-loving millennials, I'm assuming you mean tech-loving millennials who are not yet married with no kids, because I'm assuming, I don't know, but because if that's the case, a 2 to 3 bedroom is way too big. Okay, just think about it when you travel. If you are a millennial or tech-loving millennial, the idea of a 2 or 3 bedroom means, by definition, more people are coming with you. So that's a completely different thing, right? If you're just talking about 2 adults traveling, a 2 bedroom or 3 bedroom is way too much space. You don't want to over index on space. That's all. That I would leave that there for now. Yeah, you don't want to over index on space. I will say this, however, because there's still more research that is forthcoming on this one, but it is very evident. It is very clear to me that we are all using real estate differently in this post-COVID environment, which is a good thing, but yet construction industry has not yet caught up to that change, right? So that is to say, a family traveling with small kids or a family traveling with older children needs an extra room, mostly because mom or dad or both are working. So even on a temporary basis, these are some of the trends that we are seeing right now, inclusive of some of our reservations. So what am I saying in your case is that I definitely wouldn't go. I think a 2 bedroom, I still think a 2 bedroom is too much, but I definitely wouldn't go beyond that, period. If that's who you're talking about. Now, obviously I need to know a little bit more. Like I said, you know what? Make sure you register. Come next week. We'll go over some of the pages. It's 5 pages, guys, 5 pages to understand who it is that you want to serve, so that you can have all of the salient data points to be able to more easily make these decisions. because it doesn't start with a piece of real estate. All right, let's keep going. Where to go? Truth is hard to swallow. I'm not sure what I don't know what I said that caused that, but that can be true. And I clearly said something that Robert enjoyed because his mind is blown. And he said, Mary says, I'm in. Yes, Mary, I know that you are in. You know what, guys, can I take a moment and just share something that I have learned this year that I just never really understood, or I just did not have this understanding, right? I haven't been in the corporate world, right? In a long time, what feels like a long time. Right. And so I don't really know how things operate. In fact, I have one friend who like does management consulting or something. I think that's what he calls it, or leadership consulting. I forget. Sorry, John, if you're watching. Anyway, for the corporate environment. And he's telling me like how the dynamics are and how it goes down. I'm just like, that sounds horrible. Right. That's the only thing I can like, why would anyone think that way or do it that way? That is what I feel most of the time. Anyway, I'm sharing this to say that it has been a challenge or a new growth thing for me to believe that someone who is actually an employee would have care and concern and want to see the corporate mission or the company mission pushed forward and would sacrifice, if you will, to that goal, to that aim. And Mary, who you guys have seen, she's been the first person that I have seen, that I have witnessed, to where like complete stranger. You know what I'm saying? It's one thing if you ask a friend, someone you know. It's another when you ask someone you don't know and never seen before in your life, and then you're just watching like in transformation. Because I don't want John and Wendy and Robert and Jeremy and Della and everyone else to get the impression to say that I'm somehow not impressed by what they've done. No, we all are adults here and we're getting it done. But because of how Mary got here and being able to watch that, I was like, wow, if that can happen, then that means the business can really grow. And maybe that's a lesson that you have been holding back on or been afraid to attempt to try. Because I know I have been. At the beginning of this year, no one was a W-2 employee. No, was not going down that road. Hear me clearly. Now I'm like, wow. It's just redefined what's possible and probable, which gets me excited because you know what that means? That means we can finally begin to execute on certain ideas and things that we can bring to the marketplace to hopefully help more people become those job makers. Yes. Anyway. Woo. Is there a phone number to call? Yes, Boro. There is a phone number, I guess. Okay. If when I'm going to scroll down in a second, if I see enough interest, I will go and I will turn the phone on so that you guys can ask, and then we will get it going. I submitted. Okay. Boro said I would call tech loving. What is this? Tech loving travelers might like an office in their place. Exactly. That's where I would be thinking of the 2 bedrooms, Mary. We're 100% right there. And because that would totally work. What type of travelers are looking for an office in their short-term rental? Yeah, a lot of there is such a need because we had a pull forward. What I mean is into the future. I mean, these trends were going to happen anyway, but now in essence, we've reached into the future and pulled forward to today the demand and need for how do I work at home, right? And to be clear, it's not really work from home. It's more work from anywhere. So how do you do that? And how do you set up your short-term rental to be prepared for the WFA environment? Because that's really what we're talking about. And it can be done, and that's what we're doing. Oh my gosh. I asked the channel Airbnb Automated about if I should change a room into an office. He said definitely not. Short-term University says do not change a room into an office for workplay purposes. Okay. Again, everybody, it depends. Like I said, whom are you serving? Period. Here's what I know to be true. Here's what I can document. Here's what I can prove with reservations and dollar amounts and increased revenue. I can prove that depending on who you're serving, you'll make more money, especially right now. I can prove that your length of stay will increase. Again, depending on who you're serving. I can prove that, and again, this is not just, when I say I guess I should more accurately say, here's what we have helped a whole lot of operators across the globe do, and changes that we have made. This is not based upon supposition or guess. This is based upon, on the street, actual reservations. Because again, Sean and Richard, that's the two people you're referring to, that they're great, right? Everybody's got something to bring to the table. But my job is to help you make money, because I'm not making any money by telling you what doesn't work. I barely make money by telling you what does work. It's your business. That's why I'm also giving you the system for how to determine it. That way you don't have to ask me. You can ask yourself the right questions. You can read the tea leaves yourself. We do not create dependent business owners. You will be self-sufficient and independent and know how to read the tea leaves and grow your business yourself as it relates to everything. That's the rule. So, because everyone's going to have an opinion, and that's fine. My thing is, who do you want to serve so that you don't end up with a job? Because we already talked about how well that works. And worse, you want to put yourself in a position to where when, not if, when the marketplace changes, you're not scrambling, hoping you know what to do. See, this is the difference between having an Airbnb business and understanding that this is a short-term rental business, because that's exactly what happened. And that's why many individuals are not here. They're not here because they had an Airbnb business and something happened, change, and they didn't know what to do. They still don't know what to do. And they're hoping for someone, just tell me what to do, without realizing you're still responsible for the result. So I'd rather show you how to feed yourself. We teach you how to fish, as they say. We do not hand you fish. And if you don't want to learn how to fish, fine. We are definitely in the wrong place, right? And I'm fine with that. But at the end of the day, I can sleep at night knowing that every person, should they be willing to apply themselves, can duplicate to their heart's content and then disappear, because that's usually what ends up happening. So we get people that somewhere between 15 to 20 units, they go, oh, I got this. And then we never hear from them again. It's like, okay, great. We did our job. There goes another one. And that's great, because that's just how it is. So my point to you is, everyone's going to have an opinion, right? People told me to get a job. That's what they told me to do. I don't know. It is what it is. Let's keep going. I still have nightmares about my old cubicle. John, that's funny. 2 things I learned from you today. Oh, this is good. That I plan to respectfully plagiarize. Yes, already. Here we go. Heroes and sheroes. Yes. And be a job maker, not a job taker. You're welcome, Dean. Whatever I can do to inspire you to create more jobs and do more. Great. Yeah, what is this? Yes, we've seen a lot of remote learning as well, as they want in the office for that. New reason. Yes, absolutely. What is this? I just got another short-term rental near an academic medical campus. You're welcome. That's what we do. I am touring a property that a company, Stay Alfred. Here we go. Abandoned with 3 floors worth of apartments. I'd love to get your thoughts on urban interest on short-term stays. Also, I imagine properties will likely be put off renting to other operators, set up new lease terms, protect themselves simply with smaller companies. How might you approach this conversation? Yep, not the first time I've heard this in some of our highest level group, highest level and near highest level group. We've been talking about this for a little while. So yeah, there is economic fallout from the Sonder and the Stay Alfreds of the world. Yeah, I'm with you and I understand. And yes, we do now have to sell against that too. The number one thing that I keep thinking about is that the reason that that particular landlord is having the challenges that they're having is simply because they had a single point of failure. That single point of failure was one company. One of the unique strengths of a CashFlowDiary student and operator is that you're already surrounded by a number of operators in your geographic area, which now means because this is what we have been approaching landlords with, is like, look, I'll take 10, and yes, we want all 3 floors, but we want to protect your risk in the sense of I'll take 10, he'll take 5, she'll take 5, they'll take 4, they'll take 6. And now that same 30 units is divided 5 ways. That gives you the, security and diversity that will help you with your, revenue. Because that's really the issue there, is that they took the easy money and did not understand the business. And now they do. They do understand a little bit more. And here's the good news. I've seen a number of people who have had a bad experience, give it a second chance. So just understand that that's out there. Okay. Which is good. Hopefully you have been building the track record to be able to overcome any additional concerns that they might have. And for those of you who have heard and listened and executed, that's exactly what has happened. So good stuff. I like it. I like it a lot. Rin, is that Rin? Okay. Would you create a short-term rental business in London that has 90-day restrictions on short-term rentals? I live in London. Yes. So we already have people in our program who are in London. So that should ultimately answer the question. But if it didn't, the answer is yes. What you are perceiving as a restriction, just like many of the things I've said earlier, when I said, people laid off this and that, that while ultimately is not the result that certain individuals are looking for, that doesn't mean the business doesn't work. Yeah. So there's a lot that goes into what I just said there, but yes, does the business still work? The answer is yes. So I laugh at your 90-day restrictions. Ha 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 ha. Legally too. Anyway, I'm having fun. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. Yes. Whatever I did. Awesome. Little birdies flying from the nest. Yeah. Right. All the time. That is actually one of my, it's a double-edged sword. We design the system so people can go off and do their own thing. And especially once they get to phase 3, which is where you're starting to buy property over and over and over again. And then we're like, okay, cool. We just don't hear from them. We just don't hear from until the marketplace changes. If the marketplace changes in some drastic way, then they come back for a little while. Like, hey, how y'all doing? Well, yeah, I understand. But once they get the hang of it, they go off, and it's cool, but it's definitely there. Anyway, nonetheless, I think, is that everybody? Is that all of it? Wow, a lot more questions than I anticipated today. But that's a good thing. So I'm not complaining about that at all. Nonetheless, probably one of the most important things that I want to say is I am very well aware that it is not easy right out there right now. But I'm also as equally aware that now is a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity for you. It's a great opportunity for me. And for all of us who are willing to persevere and find a way through, especially those of you who are operating pre-COVID, you're still finding your way through. Like you've worked out deferral arrangements and expenses and all this. You're finding your way. You're hacking at it. You haven't quit though. And you're finding your way through. The good news is that on the other side, you will be stronger. You will be better. Those who listen to the podcast, you've heard me say these words before. You want to become bigger, badder, better. And that's exactly what is necessary. What you're going through right now is a part of that process. There's a book out there that simply says suffering leads to perseverance. Perseverance, character. and character to hope. Hope does not disappoint us. Understand, though, if you want to have hope, you must first suffer. That last part, that was me. If you want to have hope, suffering precedes it. Learning to persevere, though, and building that character, that's where that stuff comes from. With that, I often say the same thing I say all the time. Go get more units because that is the solution to a lot of the challenges. Go create more jobs. And for those of you who want to join and become one of the job makers, make sure you register because we're going to hold our next masterclass series coming up. It's going to be exciting and fun and full of more information. I promise you will receive more information for free than what you have gotten previously, and many things that you have paid for from any and everyone else that also teaches and shares information about this short-term rental industry. That's an actual promise. Nonetheless, I definitely appreciate the time that you have given us today. Feel free to tag and share with a friend. For those of you on YouTube, do us a great favor. Hit that like button and definitely subscribe. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been fun talking to you guys today. I look forward to talking to you soon. Until next time.